Tuples will be the first data structure that we are going to cover in this module, and they should be the easiest to understand, and that's because they are very similar to lists. So just like lists, tuples can contain any number of objects of any type. There is one major difference between tuples and lists, and that is tuples are immutable. So once you create a tuple, you cannot change it. So that's what immutable means. Strings are immutable, integers, floats. You cannot change like a character in a string. You cannot change a digit in an integer and so forth. So they're basically permanent till the end of the program, until they are deleted. You cannot, add an item. You cannot delete an item. You cannot change one of the items at all. Let's see how we create it. What is the syntax for declaring a tuple? It's very simple. You just separate the values or objects by commas. Let's go ahead and see this. So let's create the variable a, and we'll say 1, 5, 10, and that's all you do. So this is a tuple with 3 items. They happen all to be integers. So here it is. It will be displayed with parentheses on either end. You can declare it with parentheses. We'll cover that in a following video on why the parentheses need to be there or don't need to be there. So you can declare it either way. So a list, a very similar type of object, very similar, way to contain data, a very similar data structure. You have to have a square brackets. And then here I'm just going to have the same values in it. So they contain the same values, 1, 5, and 10 integers. So let's go ahead and verify the type. I always like doing this with the type function. Let's make sure we know what type of object this is. Well, it is in fact a tuple. B is a list. And you might think, well, could we compare a list and a tuple? Well, you can, even though the values are the same. You're going to get false here just because they are different types. All right, so another thing about tuples, just like lists, is that the values can all be a different type. So we can just write over a like this. The first one could be an integer. The second one could be a float. The third one could be a string. We'll just say the string tuple. The third could be, or the fourth one here, we could just make a list over here. So this has 4 items. And one of the items just happens to be a list. Another is a string, float, and integer. Okay, so they are very similar to lists. We just cannot change it. So we haven't covered the difference here, but as you'll see in the upcoming videos, when we try to change a tuple, we cannot. So therefore, they are immutable, and that is the major difference between tuples and lists.